very good evening and thank you for joining us. My name is Omondi and this is KTV Primetime News. Today being a Monday, the 11th day of April, the year 2022. Tonight, we have a lot in store for you and what is happening in the country and of course beyond our borders. And in the course of the bulletin, we shall be having a very special discussion on the tough nomination hurdles, a question that is of great concern in the wake of the party primaries. Before we get into that, let's take a look at the stories making headlines tonight. The much anticipated Form 1 selection released today with Professor Magoha affirming 100% transition to secondary schools. Looming headache in the Azimio camp as Mike Sonko joins the race to succeed Governor Hassan Joho. Ekuru Court files a petition seeking to bar ODM Chief Raila Odinga from contesting in the upcoming August polls. Drought reports indicates that the 29 million population in the Horn of Africa is on the brink of starvation.
This is KUTV Primetime News with Omondi Otieno.
Well, and I'm not alone. I'm with the company of Sharon Omboy, who is our sign language interpreter tonight. We're all streaming live this broadcast on our social media platforms on Facebook, KUTV Kenya, and on Twitter, KUTV_Kenya. It's also live on YouTube at KUTV Kenya Live. Now, all students who sat the Kenya Certificate of Primary Education, KCP, for the year 2021 will proceed to secondary schools. Speaking while officially launching the Form 1 placement exercise at the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development in Nairobi, Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha says the government is committed to a 100% transition policy. The CS also revealed that 9,000 students will receive government scholarships with government bursaries with 4,000 of which are from the slums. All Form 1 students are expected to report to their various schools by 3rd May 2022. And away from that to matters politics, former Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko is set to make a political comeback contesting for the Mombasa gubernatorial seat. This is considerably an increase to the looming tensions in the Azimio la Umoja camp, which is also eyeing to file very strong members of the ODM party for the same position. In the wake of the party primaries ahead of the hotly contested August polls, the Azimio la Umoja camp is in for tough migraine to the former Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko joining the Mombasa gubernatorial race. Sonko, who come from Jubilee Party, joining Kalonzo Musyoka-led Wiper Democratic Movement Party in a bid to succeed incumbent Governor Hassan Joho, will square it out with the former Mombasa Senator Hassan Omar, businessman Suleiman Shabal, Mvita MP Sharif Nasir, Kisauni MP Ali Menza Mbogo, former MP Funyali Hezron Awiti Bolo, and Dr. William Kingi. Sonko will face off with Ali Mbogo in the Wiper Party primaries. The rivalry is set to play out between Sharif Nasir and Suleiman Shabal, both of ODM party. The tough tussle within the parties for the tickets are likely to shake the whole Azimio la Umoja camp in the race to succeed Governor Joho. Of great concern, however, is the great influence of the incumbent over the coastal region. In the Azimio camp, how to conduct the primaries within the coalition is reported to have been one of the contentious issues of the party. With few weeks left to submit the nominations to the electoral body, the coalition leaders are left with the hard task of settling on favorite candidates without shaking the camp. Right, away from politics, Safaricom M-Pesa Foundation, in partnership with other private sectors, have joined forces to raise money and other staff for donation to the residents in regions experiencing acute drought. Now, the food disbursement exercise was flagged off by the Cabinet Secretary in the Ministry of Public Service, Margaret Kobia, at the KICC in Nairobi.
Kenyans have once again demonstrated their big hearts by joining forces to feed millions of citizens faced by hunger pangs, especially in the regions severely affected by large spell of drought. Flagging the food disbursement exercise at KICC, Cabinet Secretary in the Ministry of Public Service Margaret Kobia has lauded the Kenyan spirit, terming it a selfless gesture to help one another.
Forging partnership to provide solutions to drought-affected and vulnerable people is a priority of government. I appreciate the support from private sector, development partners, and other humanitarian organizations that are supporting drought response initiatives to address food security, health and nutrition, education, peace and security.
The Safaricom M-Pesa Foundation that pioneered the relief exercise saw many come on board with monetary aid to support their fellow Kenyans who are on the brink of starvation. CS Kobia revealing the government is working around the clock to finding a lasting solution to the perennial problems resulting from acute drought conditions.
As part of the government's commitment to both short-term and long-term solutions, in the budget of 2022-2023, Kenya shillings 46 billion has been allocated to address food insecurity in the country. The focus is to invest in community-based interventions that will build resilience in all the vulnerable households, diversification of livelihood, and improvement of the early warning and the impact forecasting.
Other well-wishers have been urged to send their donations, all in the bid to secure the livelihood of disadvantaged Kenyans. The forecast of the long rains in the month of March, April and May have delayed, compounding an already dire situation. Henry Tende, KUTV.
Right, now it is a matter of days just before the party primaries are conducted, and participants who will be contesting for the August polls, particularly the youth, are using innovative means to win the hearts of the electorates. Emmanuel Kutosi has a special report for us.
Hundreds of Embu residents have benefited from Huduma Kenya services through the Huduma Mashinani, a mobile outreach program. The program is initiated to give Kenyans access to government services at their convenience by bringing government services closer to the people. The development of the mobile app has come as a relief to boda operators who are turning up in large numbers for the ongoing registration drive. The riders faced the challenge of traveling all the way to Embu town to beat the registration deadline at the same time where there is a biting fuel shortage.
Kwa sababu ya kwanza kuna ile nauli ambayo wamekuwa wamesave ya kuenda all the way to Embu Huduma Center. Wengine wanaofia nitaenda pale Huduma Center nikute laini kwa mrefu, nikae hapo siku mzima na niwe sijahudumiwa, niwe ni wakurudi siku nyingine. Wengine wanaona pia hawana pesa ya kununua ile mafuta ya bodaboda, unaelewa shida zenye ziko za mafuta. Kwa hivyo hii huduma ya mashinani ndio mlengo ambayo tutapeleka kila mahali Embu, tupeleke hizi huduma za serikali.
Huduma Mashinani has been tagged the way to go, with locals being urged to turn up for the services as the government means well for the people, and that is why it has rolled out such initiative aiming at taking services close to the people.
Ungane na hizo vikundi ambazo serikali imehimiza, ndio na zote tufurahie service yenye wanatufanyia. Ni service ya muhimu sana.
With the aid of the program, the government looks forward to register all boda operators in the country with a lot of ease. Christine Brenda, KUTV.
And on my chronometer, it's 12 minutes past the top of the hour. It's time we take our first break here on KUTV Primetime News. The moment shall be coming back with the discussion of the night, the tough nomination hurdles that you don't want to miss. So stay with us. See you on the other side.
even had a child, they decided to move back home and make things official. Now, here is the bombshell. They found out that they were related. Wow. With Orbital Global, you can save yourself the embarrassment.
How well do you know your family lineage? Your cousins, uncles, aunties, nephews, nieces? Orbital is here for you. Visit www.orbitalglobal.com. Orbital Global, connecting families, uniting nations.
Lola ni programu inayokupa fursa ya kutizama video zozote pindi tu unapokuwa na nafasi. Hadithi za kukupa motisha, drama, maisha ya vyuo vikuu, teknolojia, masuala ya jamii, kuzuru maeneo tofauti, spoti, burudani na zaidi. Pata programu ya Lola sasa kwenye rununu yako kwa yote unayohitaji.
Kenya kuna aina tofauti za hali ya anga ambazo huboresha au kuwa changamoto kwa wakazi wa eneo. Kaunti ya Makueni imeibuka kuwa bora katika masuala ya kilimo licha ya hali ya kiangazi.
Maembe huwa tunazalisha nyingi, lakini mtambo kuna ile capacity ambapo hawezi pitisha na hatuwezi chukua maembe yote. In fact tunachukua 5-6%.
Kaunti hii imejikakamua kwa udi na uvumba kutegua kitendawili. Ukambani kuna ukame.
Tambo maji ilikuwa ngumu kupata kiasi kwa sababu kama ni pale kwa mto inapita tu inaenda. Lakini sasa hii kama imesimamishwa itakuwa rahisi kwetu.
Basi kikosi cha Boresha Kilimo kilitangamana na wakulima mbalimbali kuandaa Makueni County Edition.
Na wahimiza wana Makueni na Wakenya wote kwa jumla kuitazama kipindi cha Boresha Kilimo kila Jumamosi kuanzia saa 6:30.
Unemployment has hit you hard. Your salary is meager. You decide to venture into business, but you're struggling to thrive in it. You would want to reap a big tip on how not to run into losses.
Forget the preachy business vlogs, the hyperbolic motivational speeches, and all the roads down desperation.
Karibu kwenye mitindo ya kipwani. Yaani unavyoona basi niko kipwani pwani tu.
Unapopika inatakana uko half cooked. Tui ni nazi imekunwa inawekwa kwa hii samaki juu. Wewe mwenyewe ukiangalia samaki mtazamaji, utaona vile inapendeza.
Niko Kilifi, niko katika kaunti ya Kilifi, Bagavazi ya Gede.
Samaki mwenyewe ndio huyo kidogo. Samaki kidogo iko na maajabu kwa sababu ni tumbo yake iko juu ya kichwa.
Karibu sana kwenye mitindo ya kipwani hapa KUTV, ukiwa nami nahodha mwendesha chombo si mwingine bali ni bibie huwa linalonukia na kuvutia Waridi Samu.
Stream live mitindo ya kipwani on our KUTV Facebook page every Saturday 4 p.m.
Ngojea siku hiyo yenye furaha ajabu. Machungu yote yatakwisha, mambo yote yatakuwa ni mapya. Tukutane paradiso, tukutane enzini mbinguni, baada ya dhiki za hapa ulimwenguni tukutane.
Safina inang'oa nanga sasa hivi. Hivi sasa ni saa 2 Ijumaa usiku badala ya saa 3 kamili juu ya alama, due to public demand. Ungana nami Albanas Mwania, nahodha wa Safina Show, nikutoe ng'ambo ya pili hadi ufuoni. Safina Show, sauti ya matumaini.
Natamani kufika pale, mji mzuri ajabu wapendeza, hakuna mfano wa mazuri yajayo, jitahidi ufike mbinguni juu. Siku yaja tutasahau yale yote yanayotuhuzunisha, tumeahidiwa na Mungu.
Welcome to The Agenda, a program that gives you insights on national development, employment opportunities, and program in line with the President's Big Four agenda as the country gears towards Vision 2030 realization.
From the internship programs that these youth are exposed to, do they get assurance of direct employment, or is just to empower them?
Every year, we admit something between 4,000 to 5,000. Yes.
And that point actually brings me to the President's digital program. What is this program actually bringing to these youths?
The National Digital Talent Program, admits interns into that program, then they're taken to the private sector, mainly to the industry. And that is to help in terms of creating a big pool of people who are, or young people who are IT proficient, who can be able to help us move to the next level of technology.
This is The Agenda with Bentura Komboka and Colonel Retired Cyrus Oguna.
Imagine living in a society that embraces social justice and equal opportunities for all. On Woman Crush Wednesday, Rise Today, we bring you experts for meaningful conversations on matters gender equality.
Mimi nasaona hakuna gender equality as we speak.
So we continuously work with the men.
I feel that they're judging the girl. Parenthood.
Mind is very important in infertility.
Mental and physical health.
You need to be surrounded by a proper network.
After nimeanza healing process, nilikumbuka kuhusu boys na wase wenye niliacha ghetto. Like kila wakati nilikuwa najaribu kutafuta mbinu yenye naweza wafikishie ujumbe.
I feel like if you have 15 minutes, if you have 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever amount of time, use it, because any physical activity is beneficial. No physical activity is dangerous for you.
And we touch on current affairs.
Marrying is a journey. It means you're taking a journey together.
I'm dying to be different.
Changamoto ziko, but you can't sit there saying, oh, mimi nitafanya mziki siku yenye dozi takampe.
You look at this person and you're like, wow, they just woke up and they found themselves here.
Join us every Wednesday morning at 7 to 10 a.m. here on Rise Today Woman Crush Wednesday. I am your host, Nina Gikunda.
Karibu kwenye mitindo ya kipwani.
Nguo yangu wasenesi mwakire mtuzeha sana nenda finyira chechemekwe. Nguo yangu wasenesi mwakire mtuzeha.
Yani unavyoona basi niko kipwani pwani tu.
Wali unapopika inatakana uko half cooked.
Bagari.
Niko katika kaunti ya Kilifi, magavazi ya Gede.
Stream live mitindo ya kipwani on our KUTV Facebook page every Saturday 4 p.m.
You
Using e-waste, one Patrick Lupalo gives homemade electronic lamps a new lease on life, kicking the notion that there is no employment among the youth.
Katika pilika zangu za kutembea nikapatana na mama fulani anauza mboga, but alikuwa anafunga saa 1 juu hana sufficient light. So nikamtengenezea taa, ilikuwa tu ya box ya simu, nikamuundia taa, nikampelekea, nikamwambia hii mwangaza wewe utatumia but hautanilipa, kitu utafanya wewe utanipatia mboga ya 10 bob.
Join me, Samson Jura, on the 12th of April 2022 as I share the story of seeking affluence in rejects.
I'm a freshman in Kenyatta University.
This is all what I've heard about campus. Campus is full of freedom.
Ni cumulative. Mchezo hiyo ilipoka gani kwani?
I'm a fourth year student and I mostly hang out at shopping center. I'm a arboretum, and what I'd tell first years is it's never too late to start being serious.
Lola ni programu inayokupa fursa ya kutizama video zozote pindi tu unapokuwa na nafasi. Hadithi za kukupa motisha, drama, maisha ya vyuo vikuu, teknolojia, masuala ya jamii, kuzuru maeneo tofauti, spoti, burudani na zaidi. Pata programu ya Lola sasa kwenye rununu yako kwa yote unayohitaji.
Ukiwa na dukuduku la michezo, tunafungua sanduku la dukuduku kwa ufahamu zaidi. Kila danadana, mitimpo, mifiatuko na harakati zote ugani, sisi ni wako mwandani. Kukurukakara zote nyanjani, haziwezi kuangaziwa zaidi ya micharazo michezoni. Mimi mwanaspoti wako matata Peter Pinches Mwaora ndakuwa na jopo lenye maarifa sufufu, nikufahamishe na nikuburudishe wewe shabiki shakiki kwa uhakiki na kindakindaki.
Lola ni programu inayokupa fursa ya kutizama video zozote pindi tu unapokuwa na nafasi. Hadithi za kukupa motisha, drama, maisha ya vyuo vikuu, teknolojia, masuala ya jamii, kuzuru maeneo tofauti, spoti, burudani na zaidi. Pata programu ya Lola sasa kwenye rununu yako kwa yote unayohitaji.
Maelfu na maelfu ya wahamiaji wakiwa na watoto kutoka nchi za Amerika ya Kati wanaendelea kuwasili kwenye mpaka kati ya Marekani na Mexico.
Folks, I'm going. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ni habari kutoka pembe zote duniani.
People pasi vuguvugu. People pani idea.
Tazidi ananyonya, hanyonyi vizuri, anakuwa hayuko comfortable.
Jeshi la Jamhuri ya Kidemokrasia ya Kongo linapambana na waasi wa ADF.
Kwa sasa wanatoa wito kwa mashirika, makampuni na vile vituo vya uchukuzi.
Mambo mengi yatakwenda kama yalivyopangwa.
Hapa ni kuna mmoja wa viongozi wa chama cha wavuvi katika eneo hili.
Zaidi tunajaribu kuwapa chanjo ili ina boost ama inanyanyua kinga ya mwili, ndio inaenda kupelekea kupambana na virusi.
Ni Duniani Leo, Jumatatu mpaka Ijumaa, moja kwa moja kutoka VOA Swahili, Washington DC.
You are watching KUTV Primetime News with Omondi, Otieno.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us on KUTV Primetime News. Now, as I told you at the beginning of the bulletin, we are streaming live on our social media platforms on Facebook KUTV Kenya and on Twitter KUTV_Kenya. Also live on YouTube at KUTV Kenya Live. If you might be having questions for my guest, you shall be telling me that on the comment section. I'll be able to read it out to them. Now, the August polls is seemingly the most hotly contested in the history of elections in Kenya. Now, in the wake of party primaries, cracks are looming in the coalitions and parties with contestants crying foul of issuance of direct tickets without consensus. Now, what lies to be the fate of the contestants who might not get the favorite nomination, who might not be the favorite for this selection, because the transfer window is also already closed. And this forms the basis of our discussion tonight. Joining me is Masaki Samuel, Honorable Masaki Samuel, who is the Kenya Kwanza Youth spokesperson, and Honorable Kech Martin, the CEO of Roots Party of Kenya. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for dedicating your time for this discussion. Thank you so much. Right, now, let's get the ball rolling. We are having headaches in the nominations, and some of the contestants actually crying foul that the issue of direct tickets and speculations that the nominations might not be free and fair. The contestants actually decrying that in as much as yes, they're headed to the party primaries, they might be rigged out, or someone who is favorite to the party might be given the ticket. But I want to know, because you are leaders in respective parties, what are the strategies that you're having in your parties to ensure that people who are contesting with your parties does not cry foul? The grounds are level for everyone. I'll start with you, Masaki.
Thank you so much for hosting me. First and foremost, I'll talk about my party and the coalition. In UDA, we have come up with various structures in terms of trying to avoid fallout after nomination, and this is because of the crying foul and people feeling this defranchised in the process. And one of the things that as a party we've been able to focus on is on the issues of consensus, whereby we try and bring all the aspirants together, let them engage between one another, and try and see the possible way if they can present one candidate instead of them going out through the same process and still coming up with one candidate. So they talk among themselves and they see the modality in coming up with one candidate whom they propose. Either way, in any contest, there has to be one winner. So with this modality of consensus, we try and accommodate all the aspirants in different segments within the same structure. If it's the position of the MCA or the Senate, the candidate who is presented is being supported, and this strengthen the party and also strengthen the coalition. So that is one of the factors that we have been able to focus on. Then the issue of the nominations, we have been able to try and come up with the structure going down in terms of having people who are credible are going to conduct this nomination process, and also engaging the aspirants that they should have faith in the process. Not only that we'll have the nominations after, that we're going to bring these aspirants together so that they can be able to support this candidate to be able to face the rest of the candidates in the other coalitions.
Right.
So those are some of the areas we've been able to capture. And what we've been asking our aspirants who are contesting in the various positions is that we try as much as possible to have this thing within the party to avoid fallout. Because once we have fallout, then this is going to tarnish the name of our party, the name of the coalition. Unlike other parties which have been able to give direct ticket without consultations of these aspirants, our way has been different because we have all focused with building the party and making sure that all the aspirants feel at home within the party.
Right.
Yes.
Now, Brian, for you, as the CEO of the Roots Party of Kenya, of course, it's a party that is gaining popularity in the country because of the way the party is selling the agenda. But are you also having the headaches when it comes to nominations where contestants are probably, contestants for the rallying for the same seat clashing? So, you're faced with a tough tussle of selecting who might be the favorite, or rather, how do you get to the consensus to reach a consensus that this is the party that we are fielding for this position?
First of all, it is important that we give this conversation a perspective. We must understand why parties are choosing to go for consensus instead of going for nominations.
Yes.
Actually, conducting party nominations or any other election is a very expensive affair. We all hear now and again IBC complaining of underfunding because election itself is very expensive. Sure. So first, a lot of political parties are avoiding the issues of costs to do the election. Number two, 2022 general election is a very competitive one, and each side want to retain as many of their members to their fold as possible. Are they succeeding in that with whatever is going on? It can be debated. But now they're avoiding to have an issue of friendly fires, because sometimes even friendly fires can still hurt. Yeah. So if you have members of your political party going into a all-out fight, when some of them lose, they'll be even more disgruntled than they are when you engage in a consensus. The only place where these political parties are going wrong is that they are having favoritism instead of consensus. Because you cannot call a process consensus if it does not involve all the parties involved. Yeah, and if you have 5 people in a contest and one of them disagrees with the arrangement, it no longer becomes a consensus. Yeah, you'll be overriding the decision of the minority within that. Yeah, and to them they can call it democracy, but that is where it is at the moment in our political spheres. We, as a Roots Party, we've tried as much as possible, and I don't think you'll be hearing of any disgruntlement amongst our candidates, because we've taken the initiative to involve them wholly and fully so that they all feel comfortable, so that by the time we present one of them to be our aspirant, all of them are comfortable to support and work with that one particular candidate that we've chosen. Yes. Right.
Now, it's actually very impressive how Brian is bringing out the issue of consensus. Now, I would also wish to know, how did you, because for the Kenya Kwanza, we understand that you've already endorsed Johnson Sakaja to go for the gubernatorial seat, and of course it was also a contest between Sakaja and Bishop Margaret Wanjiru, who is going for the senatorial seat. And so far we've not seen any form of chaos or someone, decrying any foul play. That's so impressive of the Kenya Kwanza team. How did you reach to this? And also, one thing I also want to know is how easy was it? Because I understand you are rallying for the senatorial seat. How easy was it for you to, shelve your ambitions for Bishop Margaret Wanjiru for this position?
Well, I would want to say it was not an easy thing, because this is a process that has been on for almost 3 weeks. We have had a lot of engagement, a lot of meetings in terms of trying to have everyone on board and all the views. Just the way my friend has said, that you cannot have a consensus when one party is not involved, and you only need to agree when everyone tries and put everything on the table and say that I will want to see this as one of the interests, because politics is about interest. So you have to put your interest on the table and say, well, if this card is not then for me, then I am presenting this one as an option for this one. So those are some of the things we have been trying to engage, and also you're looking in terms of the arithmetic, because our way as a coalition is we want to win most seats. So we can only win this most seat when we avoid these fights. Because if we go into a coalition, if you go into a nomination process subjected maybe by the two candidates, the way we had Margaret and Sakaja, then there's a fallout after the nomination, then that means we are going to lose numbers which will have been consolidated to the general election. So our way of engagement is trying to bring all these numbers together, agreeing on the candidates, which we already agreed that we are going to have Sakaja as our governor's candidate and Margaret as our senator's candidate. Then the rest of us, we are going to support this team, considering that all our interests have already been captured, which has already been done. So, because at the end of the day, we have our own ambitions, but we are looking at the bigger picture as a team, as a coalition, because if we don't go that way, then we are going to lose out. Either way, we only need to have one candidate for governor and the other candidate for senator. We cannot all of us have the ticket. So that's why we had a lot of lengthy conversation. We had a lot of trying to accommodate the interest of everyone. And at the end of the day, we ended up having the two candidates who are going to have for this coalition. And we are certain that they're going to form the next county government of Nairobi. One as the governor and the other as the senator. So that has been the negotiation. And we are hopeful that this is the right team. And we are comfortable also with the party and the party structures and the party leader. He has been very resourceful in this engagement, these consultations, and we're looking forward to work with the party in the next phase.
Right. Now, Brian, maybe to get to you as well, still on the Nairobi gubernatorial seat, in as much as yes, though, Roots Party is not filing any candidate for that position. But what do you see in the Azimio camp? Because we understand we're having, maybe just to mention, we have the businessman, Richard Ngatia. We also have Tim Wanyonyi. I just want to mention the two. And of course, there are also others who are still in the Azimio camp in the same position. But we've seen how the consensus was agreed in the Kenya Kwanza team, and it's been peaceful so far. Do you foresee the Azimio camp also, applying the same route of consensus where no aspirant will, decry foul of probably someone being favored in the expense of the other?
Political parties are formed and designed to take power or to win power. And that is the sole and primary purpose of having a political party. So if your question is anything to go by, I think the people or the Azimio group had already foreseen this kind of a challenge, given that they were consolidating a lot of political parties to come together to form the Azimio. That's why they hurriedly, and you can remember the manner with which they passed the political parties amendment bill, so that it can give them space and means through which they can be fielding a single candidate from the coalition as a coalition party. I hope you get my point. So that given that they are the people who designed this bill, they had foreseen this kind of a challenge, and we only expect, because you're speaking from as outsiders, we only expect that given that they had designed a bill for this particular purpose, they would be able to consolidate their team, to bring their aspirants together and deliver to us a single candidate who will definitely compete with Johnson Sakaja, because he has already been endorsed from the other side. So we really hope they do so that we have a very clear line on who becomes the next governor of Nairobi City County.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, maybe let us get away from the Nairobi gubernatorial seat. Ekuru Okot has actually filed a petition to court that is aimed to bar Raila Amolo Odinga from vying for the presidential seat, and of course together with Kalonzo Musyoka and Musalia Mudavadi vying, being the playing the second fiddle for whoever they are supporting. On his argument, he was arguing that Raila Amolo Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka, and Mudavadi are still public servants and do not that they should not vie for elections. What do you foresee of this? Is this petition that is filed by Ukuru Court anything that would be impactful in the August polls to affect, maybe to going by the constitution to bar ODM Chief Raila Amolo Odinga from buying from the August polls?
Well, for me, I'll say it. I don't see that making any move in terms of merely calculating, in terms of cultivating anything to go by. And I think it's high time also we need to call out Ukuru Court, because I think he has become one of the serious jokers in these political spheres, whereby he wants only to show up during election time. All this time, we have not seen him coming up with serious petitions in terms of when people are being the houses are being demolished, we're having problem with the taxes. So he only comes up to seek relevance through this phase. Right. So I don't support such kind of a move. I think it is important we allow all these candidates to have a free contest and participate in this election, so that when we win, especially from our side, we have a solidified front that we allowed all the aspirants to participate in this process. For them being limited to contest, I think it's just one way of trying to create relevancy through the same petition, and people talk about third way alliance, and because that's always what's been the challenge, and trying to make the name through this process. But I don't see that seeing the light of day. So let's see how it goes, but I don't see it making any move in terms of change. Yeah.
All right. Now, maybe on that, I think it will be interesting getting it first from Brian. But because actually in the Kenya Kwanza camp, there are some people. This lady in Nakuru was saying that they were tarnishing Raila, saying that Raila committed treason, and by swearing himself that he should not even be rallying for the presidential seat. But anyway, away from that, Brian, what do you see in these presidential elections? Because over time, it's something that I had asked the presidential candidate for Roots Party, and he told me that it's a media creation of, the presidential race boiling down to a two-horse race. And actually, I think he's also creating a narrative, a different narrative, because people are talking, of course, of Raila Odinga, people are talking of Ruto, and the factor of Professor Wajakoya is also in the mouths of people. How do you foresee the presidential elections? Because we saw the Speaker of the National Assembly, Justin Muturi, the other day, he joined the Kenya Kwanza camp. Is Professor rallying to the end, or is likely also to go the Justin Muturi way?
Okay, I'll start by the Ukuru Court issue. Ukuru Court launched his presidential bid a week ago. It did not get the limelight he thought he would get. He did not get the coverage he was hoping for. He did not get the attention he was hoping for. So he's trying to find something he can cling on to just to get a bit of political relevance. Again, Ukuru Court is a very knowledgeable person, who has failed to canvass his knowledge in the right format and present it to Kenyans. He has been, we can say he's a cunning politician who is an opportunist, and always want to take advantage of a political season to advance his small interest here, which is not important for us anyway. And on issue of the two-horse race as has been presented by the media, we still believe it's a creation of the media, and I think we also responded to it as the Roots Party in a newspaper publication, I think a week ago. We believe that elections are there for the interest of the ordinary Kenyans. And it is very important and it's imperative of media houses to present to Kenyans all there is, so that when Kenyans are going to the ballot, they go there with well-informed opinion and well-considered opinion, so that they elect people they feel will serve them justly and rightly. Our presidential candidate, Professor George Luchiri Wajakoya, is in this election to the full. we are going straight to the ballot, and we believe that we still have time to pass our message to the great people of this country so that they can understand that there is more beyond the big names that have existed over time. We can allow ourselves to open our eyes and ears to see and listen to other ideas and opinions that can be able to advance the interest and the welfare of our country and the people of our country. So that's what we present as a Roots Party, and we present through the candidature of Professor George Luchiro Wajakoya, that we have a solid presidential candidate with a clear agenda, a clear manifesto that will radically change the lives of citizens of this country for the better.
Right.
Yes.
We'll get back to the manifesto factor later, but because we are still on the aspirants, the contestants, we delve much in this presidential because the president will determine the fate and the future of Kenyans. Now, Masaki, in the Kenya Kwanza camp, we understand that the deputy, Dr. William Ruto, of course, will be the presidential, he's the presidential, actually, flag bearer for the camp. Now, the question that, many Kenyans are asking is the deputy president factor. When Mudavadi joined Kenya Kwanza, earlier on before he joined Kenya Kwanza, there are videos, he's actually on record, saying, because UDA, we was talking about UDA, was asking, Yuda ni nani? Something of that sort. Of course, Yuda in the Bible is talking about Judas. But later on, he joined the Kenya Kwanza Pact. And then talking of the issue of BBI, when BBI was being signed off in the country, Mudavadi was there. He was in the Bomas of Kenya. He actually signed the BBI. But then when the BBI failed in the Supreme Court, he was reading a different script. Now, Kenyans would really want to know the deputy president factor, because there was a time when the Right Honorable Deputy President Dr. William Ruto was abroad. There are questions of Rigathi Gachagua, of course, and other leaders from the mountain region saying that the deputy president must come from the mountain, and then there was Senator Malala saying that the deputy president seat must come from the western region. How is it likely to play out? And in any selection that is given, if they settle on the western region or they settle on the Mount Kenya region, how is it likely to shake, the Kenyan political scene?
I think first and foremost, just to respond on the issue of Davadi, I think when we started the whole thing of BBI, I think the message was very clear to all of us that the direction was to unify everyone, was to bring the country together, was to do reconciliation. But after process that was going on, then I think majority of us and even part of the team that is still in the Kenya Kwanza, we realized that actually the main agenda was about the succession politics. It was not about bringing the country together, which actually we have overseen that, that it was a two-people agenda on who is going to succeed the other. So the narrative about what started and how it ended, the thing changed along the way, because what was created was not what was intended, because the creation of it was to bring the country together, to make sure that the country is together, and also to make sure that those people who are affected in the previous election are brought together and the country is unified. But the agenda was different.
But
so that is
anyway, from the onset, the onset of the BBI, because it was actually a document for constitution amendment, did they amend it along the way as it was developing in the country?
As you can remember very well, we have had a series of engagements, even on that document. When it started, there are things that were put in place that actually were meant to bring the country together. But along the way, they created different narratives. The amendment ended up into the political scope of it, into creating leadership position and not accommodating the interests of the people. So that's where now we had problems with the document, that this is not the real intention of it, and it was just lying towards the succession politics. And we distanced ourselves clearly from that document, and we said we are not going to support this document going forward. That's now when it created the friction. between the parts of Jubilee, and now we had the breaking up of Jubilee because the intention of it was not clear. On the second issue about the running mate, I know there been a consultation in regards to the Deputy President, but I don't want to give a clear answer to that because this process is still on. But we are focused, and you have seen our leaders coming out clearly, especially Mudavadi and the rest of the people from Mount Kenya, that we are looking in terms of how we're going to form the government, regardless of who is going to be the Deputy President. That is going to come up when the right, when we have already have our house in order in terms of bringing the rest of the parties together, because we're still having parties coming into together to join the Kenya Kwanza team. So we are having those consultations, and we're going to have a clear running mate when the time comes. Right. So I want you to hold your horses, relax, and wait for the time, and be sure that we are going to form this government. Right. On to this other factor.
Maybe let us get it. Let us get you still on the Deputy President factor. Yes. Brian, I want to know which strategy are you, because you know the Roots Party is having a strategy that is not so common. You know, it's coming up with a strategy that you know. We are not talking about the Mount Kenya region. People are talking about the Western region. I want to know what strategy are you also will be coming up with to ensure that the running mate that Professor will be having will be a unifying factor and will give you an edge when it comes to the presidential elections.
Again, our agenda as Roots Party is to get our people from shackles of poverty, to eradicate poverty in the face of our land, to create an environment that will be conducive for everybody to live comfortably. And for that reason, we have not focused or anchored our approach on this election on regionalism, because we also understand that the same challenges that a young girl in Nyeri faces are probably the same challenges a young girl is facing in Kwale. Our problems as a country are universal. We want water, we want better healthcare, we want good road network. Yeah, we want better education facilities. These are universal. They are not region based, and that's why we do not want to approach this election or present our agenda in a form of regionalism kind of a thing. So the person we will finally settle on as a running mate will be someone of high repute, probably a young person who is a visionary, somebody who has a burning desire to bring change, to serve his country or our country. That is the person we'll be settling for. We'll not be looking for tribal arithmetics. That's not our thing. We are saying we are going into this election with very clear mind, very clear objective. We do not want to be subjective on issues like tribe, county, on that the kind of arithmetics we've seen from these other two camps. We want to be a bit different, so that if we are winning this election, is because the people of this country have finally understood and have come to terms with the reality that our challenges are the same. Our regions and tribes may be different, but our challenges are the same. And again, it is also very important for us that finally we must understand that it is no longer about who leads us, as a country. It is now about what are our standards to be led. Because if our standard to be led is by me being a tribe, then we are missing it out. If our standard to be led is because this is my brother or this is my sister, then we are missing it out. We are missing it out. Our standard to be led must be people who are visionary, people who have foresight, people who want to change the lives of people and our country.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Now that is so interesting, gentlemen. My director is telling me that we should be winding up because of time. We started a bit late, which is, of course, things happen. So we shall be extending, of course, this discussion. Of course, it will also get so interesting after the nominations. I'm told their party is going to do nominations across the week, and next week we'll be having very interesting discussions, of course. Now, I do want to probably in just a minute each, what message would you wish to pass to the Kenyans as we wind up? Just a minute.
The message is very clear, and I want to put it very clear to Kenyans that as Kenya Kwanza team, we are focused in terms on how we are going to improve and work on our economy, and that is the one big area that as a country we are all headed. We have had crisis, and that's why we come up with this coalition. So I want to urge Kenyans that going forward, going to the future, they should be able to mobilize themselves toward voting the Kenya Kwanza team, so that we can be able to form this government that is going to be considerate and focus issues in terms of how we're going to improve the lives of our people. Let's avoid issues of people who have been not able to focus their agenda in improving the livelihood of our people. So that is the one thing that I want to assure Kenyans.
Right.
Yes.
Brian, as we wind up, of course, it's interesting because you are the only party talking of how debts will be repaid. In a minute, what message will you be having for Kenyans?
Fellow Kenyans, 2022 general election presents us with an opportunity to change the lives of our current generation and future generation. We must strive to elect leadership that is conscious to our challenges and needs. We must look beyond our tribes and look at leadership that will impact our lives positively. As Roots Party, we are presenting to you Professor George Luchiri Wajakoya. We also understand that we have not had enough time, but I would wish to speak to issues of our manifesto and our agenda as Roots Party. We all understand that one of the biggest challenge we've had as a country is corruption. And like many other countries that have succeeded in war against corruption, it is not by forming commissions and forming bodies left, right, and center, because those bodies again becomes just an embodiment of corruption and safeguarding the corrupt. So we are presenting to you an agenda that should George Luchiri Wajakoya become the president of this country, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be introducing death penalty to the corrupt. We also seek to legalize marijuana because we believe it's a high value crop, not just for people to smoke, as there's been a propaganda out there that we just want to legalize bang for people to smoke. We must be honest to ourselves that right now, today in this country, anybody who wants to smoke marijuana for pleasure can access it and will smoke it today, right now. So we are not saying that the moment we'll legalize marijuana, everybody will stop everything they're doing to go and smoke marijuana. Just like Miraa, it's legal. It's a high value crop that has changed the lives of people in Mount Kenya East. We are telling the people of this country that for export purposes, for industrial purposes, marijuana is a high value crop. It will give you more returns. It will improve our economy. Marijuana to us will be what tobacco was to Cuba. It will be what sugarcane was to Cuba. And it will change our country. It is what oil is to the countries in the Middle East.
Right.
So we should please consider it. Thank you. I wish we had more time. We had more to
Sure, we'll have more time next time. So thank you so much, gentlemen, for dedicating your time for this discussion. And with that, just taking a very short break, shall we come back with sports news. All right, welcome back. Let's now take a look at what's happening in the world of sports. The race for clinching the coveted English Premier League title intensified when the two top teams, Manchester City and Liverpool, clashed in a thrilling duel played at the Etihad Stadium.